Welcome to Inner Voice of Knowing podcast. I'm Kaye, a shamanic leadership coach and healer, guiding you through life with a foot in both worlds. When you understand the terrain of the inner landscapes, the mental, emotional, spiritual, and energetic, you will become the leader within your physical life, both personally and professionally. After all, the power of change is in your hands. Let's get this journey started. Welcome to Inner Voice of Knowing. There are so many dynamic, energetic changes going on at the moment, and it's impacting so many people. You know, there are a lot of people now having chest, lung issues, suddenly just feeling really drained of energy, so very lethargic, not healing as quickly, whether they're getting a cold or something, and people are moving in and out of it. Those that work with energy feel it happening, and then they're able to clear it, or to come and see someone such as myself for shamanic energy healing work. So I really feel called to address this at the moment. And part of it too is because we're not only being impacted by a lot of energetic shifts and increase, there is a disconnect between two energies. So we're not talking about male and female. We're going to talk about energy in terms of the masculine expression of energy and the feminine expression of energy. Now, just for clarification, men have the masculine energy and are being asked to develop the feminine imbalance. Women generally have the feminine energy being called to bring the masculine, but there is so much discord now. Everything's been turned a bit upside down. I was even saying this back in my 20s because it was happening back then, but now it's completely and utterly amplified. There's been a confusion, you know, women stepping into more high-powered roles, having to work more to provide the income for two incomes in a family where once upon a time a woman might stay home, or not saying anything's right or wrong, but stepping into a male-dominated environment, feeling that they have to bring out those same energetic qualities. And then the same happening in reverse for the men, because women have also demanded that men become, in a way, more like women. But it's really become confused and amplified. And to bring about the change within ourselves and then within our lives and how we do our lives and how we do our businesses really is imperative. The old way of masculine energetic expression of striving and all the false stories and beliefs that now have been programmed into us about, you know, the harder you work, the more success you'll have. And people are reaching burnout. It instills also the fear that you can't be in a state of flow. So let's just name a couple of feminine energetic qualities and then the counterpart of a masculine quality. And this needs to become a harmonious union, a harmonious relationship in order for us to move beyond stress, overwhelm, ill health, anxiety, sleepless nights, overstimulation. It's being absolutely called for. Because the truth is, at the deepest levels within us, it is a harmonious union. we've gated off sections to live in alignment with stories and perceptions that we have developed over the years. So a feminine quality would be being, just being present in the moment. And a masculine quality that goes hand in hand is the doing. So there are times in life where we need to learn how to be in the being. And then there are times where we need to know when to be in the doing. You know, a feminine energy is passive. The counterpart can be very active. The feminine is feeling. The masculine is thinking, logical thinking. When we're in discord with these, we're basically functioning from half the energetic fuel. And if you look at the ocean, it flows in, it flows out. The river, it flows over, it flows around. The feminine is very cyclical. If we don't understand the cycles of what we go through, and I'm not just talking about menstruating and things like that, there are cycles of growth. There is the cycle of how the energy moves through us and back down into us. If we don't know where we're at in a particular cycle, we don't know where we're at. We don't know which energetic expression we need to be in at any given moment. The masculine's very linear. Feminine is grace, masculine is strength. Can you see feminine, the flowing, masculine, structured? We need both at different points and moments in our creations of our lives. When I take people through my 12-week coaching program called the Launching Pad, what I say to people is when you understand the language and the landscape, when you're dealing with the unseen and the seen, the inner and the outer, you know exactly what you're traversing, why certain things are happening, and what gear or what energetic expression you need to be harnessing. So oftentimes people think they're in excuses and they're not in excuses. They're actually needing to go into a more nurturing energetic expression. A more cooling time rather than that heating up and that action. So you'll hear me talk about the gears. You know, fifth gear is like that masculine on that linear road, and let's get there and let's get there fast and let's get it done, and it's action, action, action. But as you gear down, it's slower. You take in the scenery. You might pit stop, you might fuel up. And just as the moon is required, so too is the sun. And you notice that native traditions will say grandmother moon, the feminine, grandfather sun, the masculine, the heating, the cooling, mother earth, that nurturing, father sky. So everything has its place. So as you're doing life and as you're doing business, you will craft and create faster and more harmoniously when you understand those two expressions, how they serve one another. It's supposed to be a beautiful collaborative dance. And if you've ever seen a man and woman dance and waltz, or like the old-fashioned movies of Doris Day, etc., that I used to love, it was stunning. One led, one surrendered and followed. One was not more powerful than the other. The power and the beauty was in the union and the expression and the honoring of the two. And if you stay in a masculine energy of constantly being busy, constantly striving, constantly running around doing, and you don't have the being, how do you know what direction to flow into? How do you know what next step to take? How do you know when something is a beautiful opportunity because you're so busy in the movement and the busyness and the doing and caught up in the thinking and the logic? How many opportunities of potential doors opening to you have you missed because you've stayed in the masculine expression instead of tempering it with that feminine inward tapping into a knowing, an intuitiveness, if you like? How do you achieve the well-being and the outcomes by only using one energetic expression? And so many people now don't know how to take time out, don't know how to go out into nature and actually commune and be fed by that life force energy. We lock ourselves in buildings, seated in front of computers, constantly accessing social media, too afraid to feel and to stop thinking, too busy doing instead of being, too busy achieving instead of experiencing, receiving so that we can then go into producing, receiving insight, receiving direction, receiving energy so we can produce those ideas, those outcomes, those results. I stayed silent there for a moment because I want this to land. The world has got so much warring, so much competition going on. We need to harmonize the energies within us. We need to know how to go inward in order to move outward, to become magnetic, to develop grace so that we can express true strength. There are times in life where we need to be flowing. And there are other times in life when we need to structure. I've had to do that developing all my programs. I'm in a collaboration with a second business with 2 others. Yes, we felt our way. There's knowing, there's all, but we've had to build structure, legalities, business structures, boundaries, because that then enables us to sit back in trust and flow and create and collaborate rather than compete. One serves the other. One enhances the other. If we didn't have the moon, we'd be constantly stimulated by the light and the heat of the sun. So I invite you to explore, to self-reflect. How are you doing your life and how are you doing your business? And are you doing it that way simply because you've got false stories and beliefs and you're buying into expectations of how things have always been done? Do you know that when you take time out for yourself in the feminine and you stop and you go inwards and you perhaps meditate and self-reflect or do your yoga, whatever it might be, and create that calm, you will actually achieve more. It's a little bit like being on the freeway and the car that is trying to push you from behind. And for me, I refuse to allow that to happen. So they manically go past me. And I just stay at my nice pace in flow. And I can guarantee you, I always end up passing the manic driver. Isn't that interesting? When I feel like I've been running late or held up, I stay in flow, knowing that I'll get there at exactly the right time. There are times in life to get things done, to have your list, to sort it out. But even in that day, what time are you taking to move back into the feminine? So I want you to self-reflect. When are you being and when are you doing? When are you experiencing and when are you achieving? When are you receiving and producing? Feeling and logically thinking? Emotional and rational? Allowing or constantly striving? I want you to self-reflect about the masculine energy and the feminine energy and how can you bring them together? Where are you lacking? And I can tell you now, when I've been in masculine expressions and defensiveness and fight energetically, I've never then received what I've most needed until I moved more into the feminine expression of receiving, not pushing. So where in your life do you need to develop the feminine energy principles? And where in your life do you need to develop your masculine energetic principles? How do they serve you or not serve you? And do you actually understand the cycle that you're in, either in creating your business or your life and the growth process that you're in, and what's required of you? Because we all have that never-ending reservoir, and the more that we go in deeper, it's already doing a harmonious dance within us. Are you going to let both expressions come through you? Or are you going to control one and perhaps allow one to be out of control? Remember, it takes the ability of the receiving to then move into the outward producing. It's time for the restoration and harmonious union of the masculine and feminine energies in order to restore balance within us and around us. Self-reflect session. Remember, power of change is in your hands. What choices are you going to make today that make a difference for you tomorrow? Join me on my next episode. And if you love this podcast, please subscribe by clicking on the plus button if you're on Apple, or like and follow on Spotify, rate and review, and please share Inner Voice of Knowing with your friends.